We have arrived on Wednesday, the day of winning, as the historians made it, W-I-N, then an S, a D, an A, and a Y. Got a great show for you today. Josh Pate's going to join us. We're going to go through all the craziness that's going to go down this weekend in college football. But speaking about craziness, David, you brought this up earlier when we were talking. So you can pay $1,500 to run out of the tunnel with USC?
The ultimate Trojan experience is what this is called.
Well, that's different than what it was.
It's usually something different.
Yeah.
The ultimate Trojan experience.
Yeah.
Is what, now, prices vary, okay?
Okay, prices vary.
$1,800 for the game against Notre Dame, $1,400 against Rutgers. But yes, you can run out with USC's football team. Funny enough, game tickets are not included in this. So you got to leave. You can pay $1,500 to run out with the team.
So wait a minute. I can be at the tailgate before the game saying, guys, I got to go in and run out with the team. Then I'm going to run back here to the tailgate.
And can't go to the game. But you don't necessarily have to be a USC fan. There's nothing that stipulates that. So this guy for Penn State.
So a Penn State fan ran out with USC.
In all Penn State gear.
Let's play this clip. This is awesome. Let's play it. You can see him here. Look at, dude. This is
come on. We're going streaking.
This is a great idea.
Through the quad.
Well, nobody gets hurt in this. Nobody was hurt, and no humans or animals were hurt in the making of this clip. Yeah. I think it's what a great idea to make. Are they the only school that does this? Do we know?
I don't know. I think Alabama should do it. Let me run out during the Iron Bowl.
Well, that's the thing. Is it worth $1,500 to let the enemy get your back here? Look at this.
Look. Have you been to the grocery store, David?
Are you talking about inflation?
Yeah, like $1,500. Put it in my pocket if I'm
the other day I went to Costco and got milk, eggs, and a PS5. It was $600. Can you believe inflation?
God, eggs.
But to me, I wouldn't want to pay that money to do it because of run out of the tunnel before in big games.
Look at him, he's still going.
If somebody had never done it, how cool would it be if you had an 85-year-old grandfather who'd been a fan of USC his whole life and had gone to games but never run out of the tunnel. How cool would it be to buy it, even if he's in a wheelchair? Just push him out there.
Yeah, come on, man. You've been a fan for a long time. Just hand over that $1,500 first.
Give me your money.
Come on,
your
man.
Son, he does good.
Look, if that's me, I'm going straight after the starting quarterback for the other team. That's what I'm doing.
Well, that's why
you'd shake his hand and say, hey, want to come on Crain and Company?
It's going to be the definition of targeting.
You Tanya Harding knobs
right here.
You probably would. Josh Pate joins us to talk Tennessee versus Alabama, Texas versus Georgia, and why Ohio State is ranked number 1 in the new JP poll. We're going to investigate. I'm Jake Crain, and welcome to the Wednesday edition of Crain and Company. It's time to investigate. Investigate. Josh Heupel built Tennessee up with a fun offense that creates big plays and goes warp speed. They hoped eventually they would have a defense that was talented enough and deep enough to be able to balance out their style of aggressiveness and not have to get into track meets every weekend. And finally, in 2024, they have it. But due to quarterback play, they've resorted to playing it safe offensively for the most part of the season. Now, I'm not in the room when Heupel talks to Nico, but either the coach is afraid to let Nico fly out of the nest, or Nico is tentative to take the leap himself. But either way, this run-and-hide style offensively isn't going to take them to the places where they want to go and thought they were going at the beginning of this year. Now, against Alabama, they need to let it all hang out, man. They need to go fast, be aggressive, and take more shots than a drunk at a bachelor party. And if you're going to go down, at least go down swinging your sword and doing it your way. The Vols could maybe get away with playing it safe against Milroe and the crew for a while, but just like the FBI, eventually they're going to catch you. Bama's going to make a play, and now you're going to have to thread the needle to come back and try and win the game. Nobody should come into your house and make you dribble with your left. So be done with the nervousness to make a play. Leave all your doubts at the door and go force the action. Be yourself. The result could be good or bad. It could give Nico the confidence he seems to have lost early in the season and catapult you back to who you thought you were offensively at the beginning. It could also end up costing you. But again, I can lay my head on the pillow at night a lot easier knowing I left no stone unturned out there. And there are no questions about whether we did it our way or not. Now, that isn't to say be stupid or take unnecessary risks, but don't be afraid to go big. Or when the opportunity presents itself, don't play it safe. After all, scared money don't make money, and closed mouths don't get fed in these SEC streets. David Cohn, former Michigan quarterback, my brother, former Western State, Colorado wide receiver. And David, I understand Tennessee's a little bit beat up on the offensive line, but everybody's beat up this time of year. It just seems to me that if this season is going to turn out to be what Tennessee fans still hope, and I think is still possible, you can't put a governor on your offense. You've got to go let it rip. And whether that's Nico making the decision when he sees somebody open downfield to take the shot, or it's Heupel not being afraid to maybe pitch backwards a little bit because we know they want to run the ball, you're not going to beat Bama playing hide and seek.
Yeah, this game is going to be a great litmus test for Tennessee and how confident they are in not just Nico, but also in their defense, right? And I think you'll see that play out in how much pace they use and in the balance between run and pass. Keep in mind, there's a template out there right now on how to beat Alabama. Incidentally, it was Vanderbilt who did it, and it's hold the football for 42 minutes and run and take shots and all that kind of stuff. Just keep in mind here one thing. Alabama, in the 6 games they've played, they've given up over 130 rushing yards in 4 of those games. Only Western Kentucky and, ironically enough, Georgia didn't rush for over 130 yards against them. And Tennessee's rushed for over 140 in every single game they played. And these last couple of weeks, when Tennessee is really struggling and Nico's not looking like the world-beating quarterback that we've seen, it's been that run game, particularly in the third quarter and in the second half, that's really taken over for Tennessee. I'm interested to see how fast do they go with that pace, and do they offset that pace at all with running a little bit more than throwing, because that'll at least keep the clock going even though you're going fast. I know it seems a little counterintuitive, but that's been the strength of the offense so far for Tennessee these last couple of weeks. So I'm interested in that. Obviously, Alabama on defense knows this better than anybody. They're going to be extremely disciplined with their numbers in the box, but that's where 2 things pop up to me. One, the PTSD when you start thinking about the second half against Georgia and Carson Beck's throwing bombs all over the field, and even Lenora Sellers throwing bombs late in the game to give South Carolina a chance, stretching them vertically. That limits your ability to lower those safeties and bring people in the box. And then something we've talked about ad nauseum with both of these quarterbacks, the quarterback design run. Can you do it enough with Nico to at least make Alabama to keep them disciplined on defense so that it opens up bigger shots for you down the field? These, Alabama's good enough where you need a little bit of everything to beat them, right? But those are a couple things I'm particularly interested to see Tennessee do on the offensive side to see if they can win this game.
And Vandy was themselves off. Like, that's who Vanderbilt is overall. They like to go, kind of a loaded backfield, give you some veer look, some triple option look, take advantage of you in the flats.
Double pass.
That's exactly right. Play to their strengths, use the quarterback run. Blaine, another thing with Tennessee, it's not just schematically, and I know they're running combinations down the field. Nico took 3 shots against Florida, and he missed them. Guys were wide open and deep. Jonesy, are you talking to me? All right, I don't think
Are the Martians in your ear?
Yeah, somebody is. Maybe, again, I'm slowly turning into the Joker. Maybe it's just happening faster than I thought. But guys were wide open down the field.
Yeah.
And he missed them multiple times. But it's not just scheme, it's pace. And I understand you have to read game flow. Sometimes it's not going to work out the way that you drew it up and exactly how you wanted to if you're Tennessee. But Tennessee cannot fall in this trap in the last 3 weeks. It almost seems like this is who Tennessee is as opposed to who we thought they were and who they have been under Josh Heupel. But if I'm Heupel and I'm this offense and I'm this team, we've got to at some point come back to being us offensively, and it's going fast to put Alabama in a disadvantageous situation. Because if I'm Bama, to David's point, I feel like if I stop the run, I stop Tennessee on offense, right? I don't care how many times. If you have to run it 800 times, that's great. But if you're not making explosive plays down the field, well, then I have the advantage, and Milroe and them are eventually going to score.
Yeah, if I'm Tennessee, I'm coming out in this game and I'm taking shots early. I really am, just to set the pace. I'm sick of watching the defense dictate what every Tennessee offense is going to do on Saturday, and you've seen that for the last 3 weeks. When it comes to Nico, it's a Mark Wahlberg, the other guy's situations. He's a peacock, and you got to let him fly. All right, sooner or later, you're going to have to trust this kid to go out there and play the biggest moments of the game and have you go win him the game. He didn't do it in the Arkansas game. He didn't do it technically in the Florida game. I give that to your defense. And go to the Oklahoma game, I give it to your defense again. You're facing an offense and Jalen Milroe, and you went over the schematics of how you beat Alabama. The first step is you have to keep him off the field. Yeah, and that comes with running the ball in short passes and obviously holding the time of possession and the clock. But you have to put some stress on the back end. You go back to when Tennessee beat Alabama. How did they beat Alabama? I know Hendon Hooker was quarterback.
There's bombs over Baghdad.
Bombs,
dude.
shot after shot after shot. And if you don't do that, if you don't put that stress in the back end of Alabama's defense, it's gravity, right? It starts squeezing you and squeezing you and squeezing you. And then you get to the point where Nico feels like he's in a box and he can't do anything. So if you open it up early, that only gives confidence to who? Your young freshman, and it's going to help your defense out.
And I want to make sure we don't fall in the trap. I don't think, I actually, the more I watch the tape, and pace and then play calling are two different things. Josh Heupel is going to control the pace and the tempo of the game like he decided to hold it back against Oklahoma in the second half. But he's going to dictate, hey, I want to go warp speed here, NASCAR tempo, whatever they call it. But I think as far as the taking the shots during the play, that's on Nico. I think a lot of this is on Nico. It's almost to the point where you think your defense is so good, as long as you don't make a mistake, you're going to win the game. But to me, you're not going to beat Alabama like that. You're not going to beat Georgia like that. You're not going to go into the SEC championship game or the playoffs and be able to win a national championship like that. So as far as the pace, I agree with you. They need to go, 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 and that's on Heupel. But when Nico gets his opportunity to rip your guts out, take the shot to rip their guts out. You brought this up the other day. It's like he goes to that one primary read. Oh, no, it's either not there, or I don't trust it, or I don't want to have my guy make a play, and then my head gets down and I start moving around in the pocket instead of just taking off and going. So I want to make sure we don't fall into the bucket of, oh, it's all on Josh Heupel. I think some of it is Nico, David, is afraid to pull the trigger down the field in some of these bigger moments and fit a ball in.
Mm-hmm. Well, that, you're talking about Jalen Monroe scoring for Alabama. Like, Alabama has proven that if you give them enough bites at the apple, they're going to score. Yeah. Right? Like, offense has been the problem. And that's why I say this is going to be a great litmus test for Tennessee on the confidence of not just Nico, but the defense. Because the pace that they use on offense, there's two schools of thought here. One, the pace that we use, is that what is our best chance to score? Is that what keeps the defense in base and keeps them from being able to sub, and we feel like we're better conditioned and we can score the best on that? But are we having to consider at all, the way some Tennessee teams have in the past, of, man, we want to keep the opposing quarterback on the sideline because we don't trust our defense to stop him? Well, that's not the case anymore. I think you can make the case these past couple of weeks that Tennessee's defensive unit has been the best unit, has been the leader of the team. So, is that coming into play at all when you start to think about keeping Jalen Monroe on the sideline? That's what I'm interested in.
Well, I think obviously circumstance dictates how you go about something. If you're up 17 points with 3 minutes to go in the third quarter and you get the ball on offense, okay, or up 10 points or 9 points or 2 scores, I totally understand slowing it down. That's the smart play. But in a game that I think is as tight as this, and the ironic part is, Tennessee fans, all I heard for the past couple of years is, just wait till we get a defense. Just wait till our defense is deep enough where they can catch up and be almost as good as our offense, or we can lean on them when we have to. And the ironic thing is, the first year you get it, because Tennessee's defense is damn good, and they're deeper than the Atlantic Ocean. Now the offense is the one that has regressed back to an average course of action. So you worked all this time. Because remember, it used to be, man, Tennessee's scoring a lot of points, but their defense just gets gassed. And then when the offense doesn't play well, they're still going fast, and the defense is gassed. And Tennessee fans are like, man, we're going to get this depth in here. Once this defense is cooking, we're rocking and rolling. And that's what it looked like early. That's why everybody, including us, are like, guys, Tennessee, we got to start talking about them in a different light. But now it's kind of regressed in the past 3 games, and you're starting to think, wait, is this who Tennessee really is? An offense that's main goal is to not lose the game while the defense helps them win 20-17. I don't think Tennessee and Josh Heupel want to operate like that, and I don't think they can win big like that.
Well, sooner or later, we know about Tennessee's defense. Nico's going to have to win you a football game.
Without a doubt.
He's going to have to go win you a football game. And what a better opportunity than this to go toe-to-toe with the Heisman candidate and Jalen Monroe. If he could come out Saturday and prove, not even win the football game, but make throws in big moments and times where you have to have it. Hell, I watched Taylon Green do it last week. And I know he's a redshirt junior and Nico's young, but Nico got a lot of pressure put on him. He was glazed to the moon, including from me. But sooner or later, this guy has to go win you a football game. And that's going to be this Saturday. We can talk about defenses all you want, because I know as good as Tennessee's defense is, it's tough to stop Jalen Monroe for 4 quarters. Nico's going to have to make plays against the Alabama defense that is somewhat skeptical in a lot of areas to go and finish the damn job. And if he can't do that, I know it's not on Heupel, and I know it's not on Nico, but I'm really interested in what Josh Heupel Heupel's whispering in his ear because he looks like a guy who's scared to make a mistake. That's what he looks like. He looks like a guy who's scared to put the ball where it's somewhat treacherous. I saw the same thing last week, and I saw the same thing the week before that. Sooner or later, dog, you have to go play football. You can't be scared of what could happen. Jalen Monroe's not scared about where he's putting the football. All right, you have to make plays in big games on Saturday at home versus an Alabama team at the quarterback position if you want to win this game.
And a couple points here, David. And what I want to point out, I kind of put out that on social media that Tennessee needs, like I said in the open, needs to let it hang out, need to let it rip. And we had some people that are like, well, Tennessee's got injuries at certain spots. I don't want to hear that. I don't want to hear everybody's beat up. All right, everybody's beat up at this time of the year. If you want to make excuses, all right, then I don't have time for it. Okay, at some point you got to be yourself. Now, if we're projecting forward, right, you talk about something that can catapult you the rest of the way and get you back in a position to really make some noise late in the season. This is the perfect game, to Blaine's point, David, that if Nico goes out there and he's confident and he takes some chances and he hits on them, now all of a sudden as a young player, you can go do it against Georgia. You can go do it in the big moments and you start believing in yourself again to make those plays. But if this game ends up being like it has been for Tennessee the past 3 weeks, and let's say Tennessee does end up winning it. Let's say somehow Tennessee wins 20-17. It's a low-scoring game. Both defenses play well. Tennessee's offense isn't great. I don't think Nico's going to be that confident by the time they go play Georgia. So this isn't just a this-week thing. It's a rest-of-the-year thing to put you back in a position to feel good about winning a ring.
And Tennessee might be better served to win this game in a high-scoring fashion in a shootout, even if it means giving up a bunch of points to Alabama. They might be better off winning this game 38-34 rather than 20-17, just to say, hey, we've won a couple ugly ones with our defense. Let's show that we can win with Nico putting up a bunch of points too, even if it means our defense gave up 5 touchdowns to Jalen Monroe and one of these high-powered offenses. Be interested to see if any Tennessee fans call in today and say what would be better or not, the low-scoring win or the high-scoring win. But you bring up that scenario about being up 17 in the third quarter and maybe you slow things down. That's one of the catch-22s for coaches, because if you've had a lot of success and you find yourself up in a football game up 17 because you were going warp speed and you scored a bunch and kept the defense in base, and then all of a sudden you slow it down and you lose, you get criticized for being too lenient at the end of a game or changing up what you were doing. But if you keep going fast, then you get criticized for not milking the clock.
Yeah, well, a great example of that is Georgia and Alabama a couple weeks ago.
Yeah, no, exactly.
Where Alabama didn't change their not that they were going super fast, but they were snapping the ball with 20 seconds left on the play clock up big in the second half. And that allowed Georgia, if you get that 3 and out when they made those adjustments on defense. So it is hard. And hindsight is always 20/20. But again, that's why these games are chess matches, not checkers. And you have to know every capability of your team, know when to press the pedal, know when to get off the pedal. I just think it's been so long since Tennessee's pressed the pedal down that, hell, in a game like this, you need to press it down and see how fast you can go to see if you can win the race at the end. But I think you bring up a great point, and later down the road, maybe it's better in this game. And I know Tennessee fans just want to win, but if Tennessee wins it in that 38-35 fashion or 41-38 in overtime or something like that, I think that's a very interesting point. But something else that's interesting that I want to point to is if you haven't bet on sports yet, maybe you want to get into it, or maybe you have. Maybe you're a vet in the game, all right, and you got multiple sports books, but you don't have Bet Online. You're really screwing up. 1, because it's an absolutely great product, and 2, because we got a heck of a deal for you. If you go to betonline.ag to place your bets and you use promo code BOOSTER, you get a 50% sign-up bonus of up to $250. And you can bet on politics, too. Actually, BetOnline is tossing a free 100 spins in their casino for all who sign up ahead of this year's presidential election. That's obviously on November 5th. So you get a great deal. They got all the props, all that stuff. You want to put together a parlay, any sport that is going on, if there is a spread or a total on it, they're going to have it at betonline.ag. And make sure, use that promo code BOOSTER, BOOSTER, for that 50% sign-up bonus of up to $250 or more. Bet Online, where the options are endless, and so is the fun. Speaking of fun, phone line's going to open 2:45 p.m. Central, 1-855-236-3228. We want to hear from you. We got a lot of calls, so we want to make sure we get through them. And, of course, hit that subscribe button. What do we got going on?
Chad, hit that like, hit that subscribe button. If you donate, it's on topic. You can bet your bottom dollar it will get read. And we're going to start the day off with Rocky Top Tom. What's up, brother? Our defense will have to win us another game this weekend, this time against an opponent whose QB looks like Sammy Ball any given damn day.
That's what I'm saying. I don't think you can not saying that Tennessee won't play good on defense, but you can play good on defense against this Alabama team and still give up 24 or 27 points. So to me, you and I know Alabama doesn't feel like the Alabama of old. You've watched them bleed. They lost to Vanderbilt. They struggled with South Carolina at home. So by no means are we saying Alabama's flawless. But if there's a strength on Alabama's team, it is their offense. And everybody's going to talk about in this game, it's weakness versus weakness, Tennessee offense versus Alabama defense. I'm more interested in strength versus strength when it comes down to who's really going to dictate the outcome of this game, because we can say all this about Tennessee, David, but still right now I have a lot more confidence in Tennessee's defense than I do in their offense. So to me, it's an interesting point.
Let's go to CSC. He says, does the loser of this game get exited from the playoff?
No.
Not yet.
Not yet.
Maybe conference championship, though.
Yeah. 2 losses in the conference probably kills you.
All right, let's go to the Ragin' Cajun. He says, do you think Tennessee's defensive line can get after Jalen Milroe the way South Carolina did? About the same when it comes to talents on the ends.
Yes. And that's a huge, obviously, plus for Tennessee. And one of the reasons that Jalen Milroe really, David, wasn't able to gut South Carolina on the quarterback design runs or getting creative out of the pocket and taking off. We talk about pass rush integrity, right? Not rushing past guys, keeping guys in the box. If you're able to do that and you're good at running zone coverage and you can manipulate it, not that you just run zone coverage or you just run man or you just run split coverage, but Jalen Milroe does have more problems with zone coverage than he does in man. It protects you when he runs. But also, David, I think Tennessee is talented enough to be able to not only get there with 4, but get him on the ground with the athletes they had. And that's what South Carolina was able to do, even though they did bring a decent amount of pressure.
Yeah, especially with their edge rushers and the play side, that front side edge rusher, not over rushing him, being able to have his, replace where he came from rules. All that kind of stuff is pivotal when you're playing Jalen Milroe. And I don't think it's good enough in this game just to say, maybe we can turn him over. You can't just bank for a turnover against Jalen Milroe. And I also don't think it's good enough to just say, we can win a field position battle against Alabama. Maybe it turns into that kind of game, but this is an offense that could go for 90 on any drive. And so when you're playing those sorts of offenses, man, you have to score when you're in the red zone. And that's what I think Nico's been playing really solid in between the 20s for the most part. But down there in the red zone, are they going to be able to score when it counts to be able to beat Alabama?
And that's why we talked about that quarterback design run to get a true hat on a hat when the field shrinks in the red zone.
Let's get a $5 donation from You Gotta Shake It Before You Bake It. He says, I couldn't agree more, Jake. If the Vols want to win, you got to let it fly, baby. I'll open up the game first, Samson. If anything, I would be passed to run in this football game.
Yeah, and I want to make sure, too, that I'm not saying I want Tennessee to just go out there and throw it deep every play or abandon the run game. That's not what I'm saying. And I don't think it's crazy what you're saying, but to me, the decision-making with the ball is tied directly into the pace that the offense is going when you're Tennessee. As we've said multiple times on this show, and I think we're right, the main reason that Tennessee goes that fast is not just to wear the other defense down and get them tired. That is a nice symptom of why they do it. But one of the reasons they do it is you can't disguise things as a defense. It's hard to manipulate different things when somebody's going that fast, and you catch them in base, and the defense kind of dictates what they're going to do. So, David, if the numbers are in the box, you spit it out on the now screen and take your chances. If you like some sort of pass combination that you have built in that you can check to quickly, that's fine. If you want to run it. I think it makes the decision-making not only easier for Nico, but it doesn't give him time to see the defense move around and maybe they're possibly doing this or possibly doing that. And to me, that's more Tennessee. It's not just the 9 route. It's not just the post. It's not just the deep shots on whatever combination you want on a 2-man or a trip side. It is the ability to go fast and create chunk plays from everywhere. From everywhere. Inside zone. Play action off the power pass, all that stuff. That's what opens up the chunk play.
That's one of the things fans out there need to keep in mind when it comes to this RPO system, especially when you get frustrated with play calling or something. You're like, they need to throw it there. They need to throw it deep, or no, we should have ran it there. A lot of times it becomes a simple math problem, right, is what the quarterback's picking. That's how you're able to take advantage in a run-pass option system. If there's 6 in the box and true doubles, then you're running the football. If there's 7, then you're going to read it with the quarterback, either handoff or pull design run. If there's 8 in the box, then it's going to be a throw somewhere way or the other. It becomes a math problem for the quarterback, which is beneficial when you're trying to go fast like that, but then also it can lead to frustrations that, we didn't dial up the perfect play call on 3rd and 6, because that's not really what we do a lot of times.
Yeah, no, that's a good point. All right, one more, we got to move.
All right, let's go to Jace Wells. What's up, Jace? He's a Florida fan here. Montrell Johnson was going to run 100-plus on Tennessee until he got hurt. I think Bam will be able to run up the middle on Tennessee. However, I believe Pierce will do a damn good job of containing Milroe.
Here's the problem when you face a defense like Tennessee. They're so fast laterally, they can run things down. Like the speed sweep isn't as effective. Outside zone isn't as effective. Like runs that should go for 40 yards end up only going for 12 yards, and it makes it harder, and you've got to go more plays and more plays. Maybe the best thing is just to run it right at them. Maybe that is the best thing.
For
right?
who?
For whatever offense is playing against Tennessee.
Oh, yeah.
Like as far as the run game goes. Because if you're going to try and outrun these guys to the edge, that ain't going to work in this game. But let's move on. We're going to talk more about it with Josh.
All right, let's talk about Louisville hosting Miami. Miami still undefeated, 6-0 despite scares the last 2 weeks. Louisville 4-2. They did bounce back after losing back-to-back games against Notre Dame and SMU. They beat Virginia last week. The line on this one is -5 Miami right now, 61.5 on the over-under.
I want to get into what we think each team should do here or how it's going to go down. But, Blaine, I want to ask you just a question off the top when it comes to Miami. Does them escaping in the last moments against Virginia Tech and Cal give you more confidence in them going forward, thinking they are going to learn from those mistakes and that they realized how lucky they are to survive? Or does it concern you that maybe they're just not that good? And when I mean not that good, the defense is still a huge, huge problem, because we know the offense can be really nice.
No, yeah, I don't see any improvement from this defense. Sooner or later, you just don't have the cats, and you're not making adjustments. You go back and watch the Cal, even the Virginia Tech game. If I watch them come out and man one more time, I'm going to freak out. Like, I'm going to freak out. And it's not like, I know you're young in the back end, but Miami has good athletes on defense, especially up front. So sooner or later, this Miami is a team. Okay, if they're going to win, it's going to be a shootout. No matter if you play a solid team, if you play the best teams, you put Miami in the playoff or the ACC championship. Right now, if you line Miami up against Clemson, give me Clemson.
I agree with you.
Because I trust Clemson's defense more than I trust Miami's. Miami's defense have been a no-show the last 2 weeks, and give all the credit to Cam Ward and Restrepo, and these guys are playing big plays at big moments and finding a way to win games. But sooner or later, every three's not going to be going in. Every shot you put up's not going to go in. Your defense is going to have to make a play. And I know Louisville's defense has been somewhat disconcerting this year after we saw last year, but they're going to run into a problem sooner or later, Miami is, and they're not going to be able to get out of the hole, and I wouldn't be surprised if that's this weekend.
Yeah, and this game being on the road, obviously Louisville has kind of slipped up. They haven't really been the team that they were last year or what we thought we were going to see this year. And a lot of it does have to do with the defense, which was the biggest surprising factor last year. Maybe this is a game where they come together on defense and they're able to get Cam Ward a little bit frazzled and he turns the ball over, but I just don't see it. If Louisville's going to win this game, I think it's going to have to be a shootout, which it probably most likely is. I don't think
there's
the
a reason the over-under 61.5.
And I still don't think that's going to be enough.
Take the over, man.
I still don't think it's going to be enough. And when you go to Miami and we talk about what's wrong defensively, I think they are a little bit deficient overall in the back end. You look at what they lost last year, right, in that side, and you think maybe, all right, going into the year, we knew that was going to be a weakness. But what keeps surprising me, to your point, is that it seems like Miami, deep down, they've got to recognize, hey, we're a little bit skinny in the back and we're having problems. What can we do to minimize the amount of damage that is happening on some of these big plays that keep getting hit and hit and hit? And you would think at some point you would balance out your coverage, because I know they got zone coverages built in there, David, but they don't seem, it's like they know the problem, they understand the problem, but they're not fixing the problem by trying to mix it up. Maybe we see some of that this week. Maybe they thought when Ruben Bain comes back, it's all going to be fixed because we're going to be getting after people's ass in the backfield or whatever. But if Miami keeps going at this pace, I agree with Blaine. Clemson's better, and they may lose this game to Louisville because they've been playing with fire.
Yeah, no, you guys are exactly right. You're bringing up a bunch of points that I highlighted as well. On the Louisville being able to create turnovers against Cam Ward, I still, very much similar to the conversation we were having about Tennessee and Jalen Milroe, I don't think that'll be enough, because keep in mind, Notre Dame scored 31 points against Louisville despite having 2 turnovers. So that's one thing. I mean, Louisville's given up almost 1,000 total yards the last 2 weeks to SMU and Virginia. And Miami on offense has scored over 1,000, almost 1,100 total yards the last two opponents they played. And again, Miami on defense, the same thing you were saying, Blaine. I mean, they've given up 72 points to their last two opponents and won by a combined 5 points. So I love the over in this game. I'm disappointed in the Louisville defense not being what they were last year. I know Ron English is going to come in with the absolute best plan that he can. And Louisville, to their credit, has been very good on the offense too.
Oh, they
taught them able to take advantage of Miami.
Offense.
I don't know how I feel about the -5 with Miami going on the road this week.
Well, it's just hard to trust that number because you go back and forth to, and that's why I posed that question to Blaine earlier. Do you trust Miami to learn from their mistakes and maybe they make some adjustments and we see it this week? But if you're Louisville, as ugly as it's been here recently, you can really, really come back and make a statement in the ACC and possibly keep yourself in it. And nobody would like to see that more than Clemson, right? To see Miami lose. But Louisville, you could really turn the ship this week. I'm torn on this game. If I had to bet a side, it would probably be Louisville +5, but I'm just probably going to bet a total and the over in this game.
Is it just me? If you're Louisville right now, you need to play a game of keep away Saturday. The more you can keep it out of Cam Ward's hands, the better option you had. But this Miami team reminds me of every team Lincoln Riley's coached before this year.
Yeah.
That's what it reminds me of. I mean, you have one of the best offenses in the nation, but your defense is just bad. Or you go to last year, I mean, it's not the same clip of what LSU was with Jay Daniels and Malik Neighbors and those guys. But that's what it is. You have a good enough offense to probably win you the national championship.
You do. I don't think there's any doubt about that.
Your defense is not good enough. And that's what it's so weird to talk about this year. You're not seeing a lot of elite defenses out there that we're used to seeing, especially from the big names. It's kind of the opposite, right? We're seeing it from Tennessee. And this Alabama game is basically Freaky Friday. They're switching places. Tennessee's good on defense, mediocre on offense. Alabama's bad on defense and really good on offense. Yeah. So it's a weird time right now in college football.
It is. It's going to be a hell of a game. There should be a lot of fireworks in that game.
All right, next one up here. Undefeated Indiana. Do I need to say that again? Undefeated Indiana hosting 5-1 Nebraska. And Indiana's favored -6.5. Just the hook under the touchdown there and 50.5 on the over-under.
It's Curt Cignetti's gotten me to the point where I don't feel good betting against Indiana.
Yeah.
And if you watch Indiana play, they're very consistent in what they do. They're very efficient and they're very clean. I just don't know at this point, and if we could bring up Indiana's schedule before this game, can you go through who they've beaten so far?
Yeah, you beat FIU week 1. You killed somebody. I don't even know who that is. Week 2, you beat UCLA on the road at week 3. Charlotte at home, you won. You beat Maryland at home, and you beat Northwestern on the road.
So to me, this Nebraska team is going to be probably the most complete team that you've played.
Yes.
You're playing them at home. Raiola's still young, but I think what he's going to do travels. The part of me that would worry if I was an Indiana fan, and I know Cignetti's an offensive guy, is that I think Tony White at Nebraska is one of the best on the planet at game planning specifically for what offenses do. And Indiana does a lot of things well. I don't think they do anything elite. I don't think they're just elite in one spot, which is still balanced. So I'm not trying to say Indiana's not good, but I don't know if Indiana has the type playmakers to hit enough big plays to score from 30 yards out, 40 yards out, 50 yards out against this Nebraska defense. Because when this Nebraska defense gets in the red zone, Tony White is really nice. I actually think Nebraska may be more talented overall than Indiana. So that means it's going to come down to which quarterback makes the most mistakes. And I know it's easy to sit here and say, well, Dylan Raiola is young. He's probably going to make the most mistakes. But something about this game is screaming Nebraska to me. It really
outright.
Is. Outright. And I know they're, a 6.5 point dog?
6.5, correct. And the money's
dog.
playing.
And I love Cignetti at Indiana. As I've said multiple times, and I'm starting to hear other people say it, he's made Indiana a cool place to play right now. They've got a swag that they haven't had in the past. But I like Nebraska this weekend. I really, really do, David.
Not crazy. How about you?
Well, that makes 2 of us.
Wow.
Who's Indiana played?
Yeah, it hasn't been great.
Well, listen,
yet.
I think UCLA is not a great.
But they've won handedly.
Yeah, you can't blame. Look, you're about to find out about Indiana the next 5 weeks. You got Nebraska at home, Washington at home, Michigan at home, and then you're at Ohio State. So we're going to find out about Indiana. Look, Curt Cignetti, Mom Spaghetti, it's a great story. He's doing great. Trust me, I was wrong about Indiana. I think I had y'all winning 3 games. But I like Nebraska in this football game. I really do. I think Nebraska's the better team. I think Dylan Raiola, I trust him more. The defense will show up for Nebraska. Look, Indiana, it's a great story. It's a Hansel and Gretel situation, man. At the end of the day, that was breaking and entering.
Yeah, well, yes, it was. And they should have been prosecuted and arrested for that if they hadn't gotten eaten. But does this feel like it would be just a really low-scoring game?
I don't know.
This is going to be like a 17-13.
The over-under is 50.5.
Yeah,
You got to remember, Nebraska beat Rutgers 14-7.
Yeah, and again, Indiana is more explosive than Rutgers is on offense because their quarterback can throw a forward pass. But as far as talent, when you look at it and you measure it together, this is a fascinating matchup to me because I do think Nebraska, as I said, overall, right, with Banks and Nasir and those guys, they can make some big plays down the field in this game. I just wonder if Indiana can match it. But don't be shocked if Cignetti runs reverse passes in this game, if he runs, flea flickers in this game. He's going to have a couple things dialed up that he really hasn't had to use that much into the season. But speaking about dialing up, I always love when we can dial up this guy. All right, Josh Pate, you know who he is. JP, first off, great to see you, brother, and thanks for taking some time to join us today.
It's a bad thing for me to join you guys early because you turned me loose in that live chat, and I will destroy this place if you keep me on hold much longer. It is smart for you to bring me in right now.
I said 2:35, and we're right on the dot. We run a tight ship.
Yeah, we do.
Well, today we do. Not typically.
Only for
today,
you, Josh.
We're like Nick Saban in that Verbo commercial.
Yeah, that's exactly right. You got 3 minutes in the hot tub, and kids are not allowed to have fun. Josh, speaking about having fun and kids, Georgia and Texas played this weekend. Obviously, it's one of the big matchups. You look at Alabama, Tennessee, we're going to get into that. LSU at Arkansas, Michigan, Illinois, and some others. But we've talked about kind of in the early part of the week how it seems like Texas and Georgia's kind of traded places a little bit. Texas seems to be the team that has a better chance of bullying Georgia in the run game. And really, you could make the statement that Texas is better on the front seven defensively than what Georgia is this year. Then on the other side, to Blaine's point, and he pointed this out early in the season, Georgia looks like a pass to run team, and they're a little more finesse than they've been in the past. Well, what do you think about this matchup?
I don't think that there's any denying this. The only way you deny that is if you haven't watched. And, some folks cover the sport and don't love the sport, so they just glance at it and they still say, but it's Georgia. Well, that doesn't mean – that's like saying, but it's Vanderbilt this year. That doesn't mean anything. It's about this year's team. Georgia – I have found to rely on a couple of things with them that always travel. Good athletes, and they still have that. But I've also been able to rely on them running the ball. They've always been, if not elite, top 25, top 30 caliber. They're in the 90s right now on that front. Yeah. And then also I've been able to rely on them making you earn it through the air. So you may throw the ball on them, but it's not going to be continuously in chunk plays. And this year they're in the 60s in that category. So now I take that on the road. And I can move the ball through the air on them in chunks, and they're not going to run the ball on me. And they don't have superstar receivers or tight ends on the roster. What that really means is their formula to win this game is the formula you used to need to beat them, or the formula that you needed to beat Nick Saban's Alabama. You got to have a superstar quarterback effort. So Carson Beck has to play the game of his, if not his career, the game of his season this year. And that's their shot. And Kirby said earlier this week, if no one wants to take our word for it, Kirby said earlier this week when asked about Texas's defense, and he said, they look like the best versions of us. Well, two things. First off, he said, yeah, they look like us. And secondly, coded in that response was, we're not the usual version of us this year. That's why he said best versions of us, as in previous years. I remember when they went into the Michigan game. When Texas went into the Michigan game earlier this year, it was when people hadn't sold their Michigan stock yet. And there were some people out there who were willing to say, if this game's a fight, it favors Michigan. Well, you found out how blatantly false that was. You found out how perfectly equipped Texas is to not just go around you, but to go through you if they want to. Texas is built like Georgia this year more than Georgia's been built like Georgia the last several years. And they've got home field at their back. I tried to find reasons to pick Georgia in this game. I couldn't find many. So I went Texas. And I assume the rest of the world will too, but I don't care. I'm going Texas in this game.
Well, to your point, if you can run the ball and the other defense gives up chunks through the air, not only can you control the pace of the game and the clock, but you also feel a whole hell of a lot better about getting 3rd and 9s and 3rd and 11s, or you get that false start on 3rd and 4 and you're back in 3rd and 9, being able to hit them there. I agree. One more point on this game but before we move on. Georgia, when they have hit explosive plays, including in the second half of that Alabama game, they've gone fast on offense. And immediately, because we live streamed the Alabama-Georgia game, after that game was over, I was like, if I am Mike Bobo and I am Georgia, yeah, you lost the game. You showed a lot of fight. That's something good. But you can take another kernel out of this, is this offense hit their most explosive plays and chunk plays going up tempo. They need to do that more. What did they do against Auburn the very next week? Right? When they played them, they came out and they went up tempo and went fast. Do you think Georgia needs to go up tempo early against Texas to put themselves in a position to not just get a lead, but get some confidence about hitting some big plays early in that game? Because they're sure as heck going to need it.
I would break that answer down like I would if I were in first grade. Okay. If I were a first grader watching Georgia right now, they've started games terribly. So do the opposite of whatever you've done to start games. And if that's running pace and tempo, then that's running pace and tempo. Don't you have to do something different? Like, don't you have to have self-scouted and script flipped a little bit here? Because you look at their breakdowns quarter by quarter, it's mind-boggling how bad they've been to start games. And it's been consistent. Like, the biggest welcome sigh of relief I could have if I were a Georgia fan here is trying to imagine a world where we're up 10-0. We're up 14-3 to start this game. And it's so unimaginable because it hasn't really happened this year.
Yeah, and the one time they did start off decent was against Auburn when they went fast. So I just don't see a world in which they don't do it.
Yeah, me neither.
Josh Pate, report to the principal's office here. I'm looking at the JP poll. I see the Buckeyes of Columbus at #1, despite that tough loss in Eugene this past weekend. I think you were there. Lost by 1 in a hostile environment. I'd love to hear your thoughts on that game. But some of our listeners, they're not familiar with the rankings versus ratings and the system that you use. Can you give us your justification for the Buckeyes being ranked #1 this week in the JP poll?
Well, I think there should be 2, but who am I to argue with my model? So Ohio State still being ahead of Oregon ruffled a lot of feathers, but that's not even a matter of opinion. All I'm trying to do with that thing is neutral field favorability. So I just hit FanDuel up to get affirmation on it and said, what would you guys make this game neutral field? They said Ohio State still lays 2.5 against Oregon neutral field. So that settles that. Doesn't even matter what I think would happen in the game. As for Texas, Ohio State, the computer slightly had Ohio State above Texas. I would invert that, but otherwise, I know it's very in vogue this week to just dunk on Ohio State and Ryan Day and whatnot. They went on the road and lost by a point to a consensus top 5 team. It's not the end of the world here. And I think in the aggregate, if that staff is worth its salt, they probably figured a lot of things out about themselves. And I mean, I don't know. I know how knee-jerk the reaction is in this sport. I did not look at that game that way. I thought both of them played at a level that should have been plenty good enough to win. It just so happens the other played at a pretty high level as well. I was on the field for that game, and I am telling the 3 of you and anyone else who wants to listen, I have been in all the venues that are 40,000 seats more than Autzen Stadium. There are maybe a handful of times at most my entire life that I remember being in a building with more juice than that place had. Ohio State plays in these huge cathedral venues every year. How many false starts did they have the other day? How rattled did they get at times in that second half? So I'm just saying, all I'm asking, and this is getting a little away from rankings versus ratings, but for the people who are selling their Ohio State stock and trying to call Ryan Day into question, all I'm asking is, can we see how the season ends? Can we at least watch the season play out? Because there's a world where this team still goes on to win the national title. They're not out of the picture or anything.
Yeah. And the conference, which that's what we had. But hold on one second, though, because I pulled up FanDuel, which I don't always do because we use Bet Online here. But FanDuel right now has Texas as the favorite to win the national championship. Yep. So would that not put them at #1 if we're just going off odds?
So what I do with that is not in direct conjunction with FanDuel. What I do is I put out numbers in the same spirit that an odds maker would. Now, there are instances, like notably the one you just mentioned, also Brigham Young, Florida. Those are some other teams that I have discrepancy with relative to whether it be BetUS, whether it be DraftKings, FanDuel, all of them basically have the same numbers. So there are minor discrepancies there. But what we're trying to do is the same thing. I'm just trying to pump numbers out from this thing and how this model, which has been pretty reliable in the past, although people only want to point out when it loses, how this model would stack those teams up on a neutral field.
Gotcha.
But this thing has like Florida 24. Do you know this thing has Wisconsin back in the high teens?
Hey, they're a little dangerous now offensively, right? Longo got a couple, shots of Jim Beam behind him, rocking and rolling there. Josh, I do want to ask you about Autzen because I've never been there personally, but I've had buddies that have coached there. And I'm not an engineer or a building scientist or whatever, but they say the way it's built, even though there's less people that go to the game, it like holds sound in more. Did you get that vibe?
Yeah, there's no question about it. Look, I go there. The last 2 times I went there, I had them take me over there on Friday night so I could just walk around, empty stadiums, really serene. It's really fun. I mean, if you look at various parts of this stadium, it's just one bowl. There's no deck or anything like that. There are parts of this stadium where I could take a baseball and not even crow hop. I could toss a baseball out of this building. Like that's how low and that's how shallow some of the smaller portions of the stadium are. So you think to yourself, they're going to play a game here tomorrow. I know the reputation of this place. There is no way this stacks up to any of these SEC places or like Penn State or Ohio State or whatever. And then you're on the field and it stacks up. And I don't know what else to tell people. I don't know anything about engineering. I just know whoever built that place knew what they were doing. Washington is the same way. It's a fraction of the capacity. But whatever an overhang does to decibel level. And also, here's the other thing about it. The average person in the crowd, socioeconomically and age-wise, is just a lot different than the average person in the crowd at, say, an Alabama or an Ohio State. There's a lot of old money at those places, and that's a good thing for them because they've built just palatial facilities and stadiums and whatnot. It is strikingly blue-collar at Oregon, which if you've not been there may fly in the face of conventional wisdom if you grew up in the South where we grew up. Dude, it is very much working class. It's like a Pittsburgh Steeler game, I would imagine, except everyone's wearing green instead of black and yellow.
Yeah, we definitely got to get out there.
Oh, for sure. I can't wait. Josh, I posted something on X the other day. I called crazy, mental, a schizo.
It was probably right then.
Yeah, for sure. I don't have to use X to get called those things. Trust me, I'll just go to my brother's house. But am I crazy to think that Auburn could beat Missouri this
Why
weekend?
did you have to bring up Auburn? Nobody wants to talk about Auburn.
So you're not crazy. You're right. Auburn's going to beat Missouri this weekend. I like the way it stacks up for them.
Me too.
I think that there is a game coming, and I'm just going to blindly roll the dice and guess it's this week, where Auburn is not going to lose the turnover battle. They're going to be +1 in the turnover battle. If I could just get that, I don't need to win the turnover battle. Just give me an even turnover game.
Yeah, welcome to the team, Josh. Yeah, welcome to the team.
Just once. I could look at it, and here's what's going to happen. So they're going to win a game. I think it may very well be this weekend. I took Auburn in the points Sunday night as soon as they posted the line. If they win it, Hugh Freeze is going to step to the podium, and he's going to smile, and it's going to be like a giant sigh of relief. And then people are going to go, wait a minute. You're telling me all we had to do was protect the ball, and we would have beaten Cal, and we would have beaten Oklahoma, and we would have won this game, and our record would be what? And then they're going to be angry all over again, but you can't change the past. So, no, you're not crazy. I think they got a really good shot here.
That's what we call the doom loop, Josh. But speaking about doom loops, I think that's the first time I've ever said that.
That's the first time I've heard it.
LSU, and I know Arkansas is a rivalry game, and I don't think LSU is going to overlook them. But there are just sirens going off in my head about what Taylon Green has been able to do as a thrower in some of these big games. What's your feel on this LSU-Arkansas game with LSU coming off a huge win and Arkansas and Sam Pittman, feeling better? They sat down and had an intervention and apparently figured it out.
Yeah, I got a little different read on this game because the way you presented it there is sort of in line with the way a lot of people have presented it to me. They almost present it as LSU's this superior team, but they better be careful because if everything goes wrong, they could fall. Who says there's a giant gap between LSU and Arkansas?
I don't think there is. I just know how much harder it is to get guys to play well after a big win than it is after a tough loss, because after a tough loss, you want to get back out there the next day and play and make it up, but it's harder to get guys to lock back in. Maybe that's where the rivalry game helps, but I think they're pretty much even. I think the line's about right on this game, probably where I'd have it about at 2.5.
Well, it's a dynamic inversion, too. So last week, I actually liked LSU to beat Ole Miss because it was Ole Miss's 7th consecutive game, double back-to-back road spot. LSU's rested. They hadn't left home in a month. Well, now they get that. They go on the road to Northwest Arkansas, which is the middle of nowhere, and they play Arkansas off a bye. And the last time we saw Arkansas, they stormed the field and they beat Tennessee. So, I mean, that's a program that could have a lot of juice about itself. And I don't want to get too far ahead of ourselves here because it should be a dogfight. But do you understand how big the inflection point here is for both teams? But just everybody knows that about LSU. I want you to think about Arkansas for a second. What the difference in 5-2 versus 4-3 would be here. Because one of their losses is out of conference. So if they beat LSU, they've still got Texas coming, but there's a world where they could afford to lose to Texas if they win this weekend. And they're still in a conversation that I don't think 95% of the college football public has the slightest clue that Arkansas is capable of being in. I don't want to say those 3 letters yet. 2 of them are CF. I don't want to say the 3rd letter yet. I'm just saying if they win this weekend, we need to be first to the party and welcome everyone else to the idea that, wait a second, could Arkansas be, oh my goodness, could Arkansas do it? I want to have been first at that party.
Do you want to know how many Razorback nuggets will get sold if that happens? Probably all of them. I don't know if it's made out of real chicken or not, allegedly, whatever. But Josh, also, they're a couple plays away from being undefeated in conference play after that A&M game. So Arkansas is for real. Let's go to the chat for one and then let Josh go.
All right, let's go to Logan Brazino. What's up, Logan? He says, #Ask Josh. Josh, that is you. He says, do you think LSU's defense is performing better without Harold Perkins because they can just go play instead of just scheming for Perk?
How do I respectfully answer this? Yes, I do. If that's respectful or not. And a lot of that is not just, it's not an A-B scenario of here's us with Harold, here's us without Harold. I think a lot of what's been happening is the scaling up of that defense under this new staff anyway. Like that staff earned a ton of money and a ton of credibility with what they did in the Ole Miss game. I mean, they're still not good if you just judge them based on past LSU defenses, but they were atrocious. They were historically bad last year. A lot of those same players are back. They still should have the same personnel gaps and holes, and they were able to do some things against Lane Kiffin and Ole Miss that they had like 700 yards hung on them in that game last year. Okay, so judging on that curve, a huge staff win for LSU last week. I don't know if it's with or without Harold Perkins and what that means. I know that the performance level seems to have continued to scale up without him. So if that's what that means, that's what that means.
Yeah. Well, Josh, brother, as usual, great stuff. We love having you. I know you're a busy man and always appreciate you taking some time. If for some reason some people just landed here from another planet, please tell them where they can find your work. If you like our show and for some reason you haven't seen Josh's, you're definitely going to like his.
I just dumbed it down so much that all you have to do is search Josh Pate's College Football Show. And not only will you get results, that's literally the name of the show now. It is fail-safe. You can't screw it up.
Josh, it's actually genius because when I went to South Alabama, like obviously the initials are USA, and we were one of the leading universities of foreign exchange students because when they Google USA colleges, that's the first one that pops up. So I totally get it. I wish I could change the name of our show to just football. That'd be the greatest thing ever. But no, brother, we appreciate it and look forward to having you on later.
See you guys.
Josh Pate, baby!
Yes,
One of our best in the business. We may not always agree, but we always agree. He's a hell of a dude, and it's always great to have him on. And he's a responsible man, David. All right, I want to talk about responsible men for a second. All right, what is it? Who are they? Why are they here? Well, it's not a who they are, it's what they are. And it's a multivitamin that's packed with 33 key ingredients. Oh, David, eat that good. You see David right there? It's minty, too. You can actually use it like a cigar like he's doing right there and then take it. God, he's such a healthy, growing boy. It's packed with 33 key ingredients that support your immune system, sharpen your brain, and keep your heart and muscles strong. Plus, it's made right here in the USA. Right? No cheap imports, no outsourcing. We're not getting it from Cambodia. All right, you got a better chance of coming from Cameron Indoor Stadium there to watch Cameron Indoor to watch the Dukies play. So it's just good old-fashioned American quality, like the kind of football we love. We wouldn't endorse it if we didn't believe in it. It works because we don't get all the vitamins we need with our modern diet. Let's just be honest. All right, we don't. You know what I've eaten this week? A meatball sub and some chili. And I'm going to eat some more chili tonight.
Nothing wrong
David.
with that.
All right, but there's nothing wrong with that when I'm getting my vitamins from Responsible Man.
Wear it well.
And right now, you can take advantage of Responsible Man's fall sale and get 50% off your order or just $19.99 off your first order. Head over to responsibleman.com. Use code BOOSTER, BOOSTER at checkout. But hurry, this deal won't last long. Remember, a strong America needs strong men. Head to responsibleman.com. Use that code BOOSTER to get your vitamin game up. But speaking about getting the games up, David, we got some calls. You want to go ahead and get into that?
We got some people who've called us.
Let's go. We got some people who called us.
Hang up on
the line.
Hang up on them.
Yeah, we should just answer
They're
them.
on the line. And the first one is Tim in California. Tim, why don't you go ahead and talk to us, man?
Hey, boys. How we doing today?
What's up?
Tim, what's up?
Hey, wanted to I was going to talk about Ohio State football, but, we called in, my daughter's in the car with me. We called in 2 weeks ago about motivational speech, Jake, for her volleyball team.
How did it go?
And last week she made the team of one of the most exclusive teams in Northern California.
Hey, let's go.
Wow. Let's go.
Will Herb Brooks' miracle speech this thing till she's in the pros.
Yeah.
Absolutely. So thank you so much for that.
Of course. Congrats.
I'll leave you on that. And go Buckeyes.
Go Buck.
Hey, look, great call.
Congrats,
Tim. Short and
Good,
sweet.
man.
Congrats. Really excited for you.
Congrats on number 1 in the JP poll.
Yeah.
That's huge. All right, let's go to Joshua in Tennessee. Joshua, what's up?
Hey, guys. Well, first off, my battered ball syndrome is back and roaring, and it sucks. But
Look, sometimes you fall off the wagon.
Yeah, welcome to the shelter.
Y'all won the
buddy.
baseball
that's
championship.
exactly
I'll
right.
open the door for
It's
you.
like Blaine
Here.
says, you got a gambling problem? Don't worry. You're about to win all your money back.
Yeah.
But I wanted to ask y'all about just in this era of NIL and parity and tougher conferences, are the dynasties over? Are we going to see undefeated seasons again? Are we going to see multi-year dynasties ever again?
Well, let me ask you this. What do you consider a dynasty? Like winning 3 out of 4? Or is it just winning 2 in a row? What do you consider a dynasty?
I would say, I guess a 2-0 or a 2 in a row would be maybe the start of a dynasty, but you would need to be
Okay.
at the top, playing in contention for that final round of the playoffs, maybe 4 years in a row.
Okay, gotcha. To the point we were making, and we were talking about this a little bit earlier in the week, I don't think you can monopolize the sport the way that Nick Saban did it for so long and the way Kirby Smart was starting to do it at Georgia with the new era we're in. Not that I don't think two teams or a team can win 2 national championships in a row. I think that's still possible. Not saying a team's not going to go undefeated for the regular season and then obviously throughout the playoff to win a national championship. But I think the days of being able to Frankenstein and monopolize a team that is so much better physically, right, at pretty much every position group, including the line of scrimmage on both sides of the ball, is damn near impossible in this time of college football.
And guys, it feels like every time we say this, something else pops up. Right? Doesn't it feel
I know,
like
but
it?
we haven't. I get it. Oh, Tom Brady, nobody will ever do that again. You look at what Patrick Mahomes is doing. I get that. That makes sense to me. People said right after Nick Saban, it'll never happen again, and Kirby Smart won 2 in a row. I just think we're in such a new era of college football, and there's so much fluctuation and lack of control as a head coach. That's why I think.
Do you guys think it would be wrong for any fan bases to expect their team to be in the playoffs every year?
No, hell no.
No, dude.
No, I mean, it's the first year of a 12-team playoff. So, we're going to run this out. We're going to see how it goes. There's going to be all sorts of things we're not even envisioning, especially with how it ties into the bowl games, right? Like a couple years ago, we weren't even talking about bowl game opt-outs until the college football playoff really came about. And guys were like, well, I'm not going to play in the Rose Bowl anymore unless it's the college football championship or something. So I think that we're going to find out more as the 12-team playoff plays out, and then we'll go from there.
Yeah, I just think that to put a bow on it too, having the expectation of if you think your team should make the playoff every year is totally fine. But if you make the playoff 2 years in a row and third year you don't make it, you don't fire the coach. Like that's my only thing. You can on one hand say we expect to make the playoff every year, and then on the other hand be like, all right, this year we didn't make it. It just happens. Let's not fire the coach. So it's a great call, Josh.
Or fire James Franklin.
Or fire James Franklin.
Yeah.
God, whoever said that needs to be fired.
Appreciate it, Joshua.
Yeah,
All right, let's go to Carter in Nebraska. Carter, how's everything out there, man?
Oh, it's going great, guys. How are you guys doing?
Doing good, man. You a Nebraska fan?
Oh, you bet I am. So here's my thing. Nebraska's offense is going to have to figure it out if we want to beat Indiana.
Mm-hmm.
The last 2 weeks, we've been a one-half offense.
Mm-hmm.
We're going to have to put a full 4 quarters together if we want to beat Indiana. So I guess my thing is if this game goes one of 2 ways. It's either going to be 20-17 or it's going to be 35-38.
That would surprise me. 38-35 would surprise me. Carter, let me ask you this. One thing that I've noticed, and this happens sometimes when you have a young quarterback, and David, you can speak to this probably better than anybody. It seems like Nebraska has become very predictable offensively on what they will do and when they will do it. They are going to run it on early downs, and it just seems like they've found themselves when it's been going bad in a lot of 3rd and 8s and 3rd and 10s. I don't think the penalties are as much as of a problem, or turnovers. It's that they've been incredibly predictable on 1st down, right? And then on 2nd down and 1, they never really take a shot, right? Or if they run play action, it's some sort of slant arrow to the flats or something like that. Do you feel like they've been a little bit too predictable?
Yeah, we've been way too predictable. I mean, I'm sitting there watching the game. I said, it's 2nd and 9. We're running the ball here. And then we get 2 yards, and then now we're in 3rd and long again, and we're going to force Dylan to throw the ball, and then they bring pressure, and then it's an incomplete pass, or, it just doesn't matter. We're running the ball on 1st and 2nd down almost every time.
Yeah. Y'all's tendencies got to be through the roof. They got to be through the roof. The numbers got to be through the roof.
If you're Nebraska, I feel like you want a low-scoring game.
I think you do too, but I don't like. What does that mean though? Like that, I don't think that means 10-7. Like low scoring to me, if it's going good, is hey, we won 24-17, or we won 20-10. Like Nebraska can't keep operating in the world of, well, let's just score 17 and hope Tony White and this defense can hold them to 14, because they are better from a talent standpoint, but they ain't that.
No, and you look at the Illinois game. That game should have been ended at 24-17, but the offense was so complacent that it was so predictable we couldn't run the clock out.
Yeah. Carter, give me a score. Give me a score of the game.
My heart's telling me it's going to be 23-17 Nebraska.
That sounds about right.
There we go.
Carter, call back next week. Let's see how it goes. Tell us what you think. Maybe they mixed it up a little bit on early downs.
Thanks, buddy. Let's go to Jack in Georgia. Jack, what's going on, man?
He be nimble. He be quick.
What's up, boys?
Jack, what's up, dude?
So I got a Georgia football question.
Came to the right place.
It's kind of a question, kind of a statement, but I don't think with Mike Bobo we can get back to what we were 2 years ago. So, I mean, it looks like almost every offensive drive we're the most predictable thing ever. Like, we're doing all these swing passes and stuff. Like, I don't see enough shots downfield for us to beat Texas or Alabama or somebody like that. Like, the second half of the Alabama game, obviously we played well. But what the heck was the first half? I mean, think about, like, last year, the SEC championship. First drive, we go down, good-looking drive, we score 7 or whatever, score a touchdown. And then the rest of the game, he's doing all this like it's like he's scared to lose the game. It's like he's calling the game to not lose it. And when we had Todd Monken, he was calling it to beat the crap out of everybody. Like Mississippi State, what are we doing throwing the ball 48 times?
Yeah.
It just doesn't look good, like, at all. So what are you guys' thoughts on his play calling, and are we going to be able to get back to what we were?
Well, I mean, David, and you know, I want to know if you agree with this or not. I don't think Mike Bobo has changed. What I think has changed is y'all's personnel isn't what it was the past couple of years. Y'all can't run the ball very effectively against good defenses. And when you can't do that, Mike Bobo isn't this, wizard in the passing game like Monken, and Monken did it in a different way. It wasn't like Monken was going empty a bunch. He could do things out of 11 personnel and 12 personnel. But you also don't have Brock Bowers or Ladd McConkey, right? Not that you have bad players, but you can't run the ball efficiently, and you don't have a lot of game breakers that can make big plays unless you're going full speed. That puts the OC. I get your gripe for the SEC championship game when you had those weapons. But so far, I think Mike Bobo is trying to make chicken salad out of a little bit of chicken you-know-what this year.
Jack, let me ask you this. This is for my own research here as someone from Georgia. How much of your criticisms of Mike Bobo have to do with his previous stints at Georgia? If he was Mike Hobo and he was brand new offensive coordinator this year, replacing Todd Monken, would you have the same criticisms because they threw it 48 times against Mississippi State, for instance?
I mean, I don't remember a lot of him, back when he was first there. I'm pretty young,
exactly.
So I don't remember a lot of him, when he was with us a while back. But from what I've heard, nobody wanted him back.
Mm-hmm.
And I gave him his year last year of like, okay, we've got the personnel. I thought we were plenty good enough to go win it last year. I mean, you think we were 3 points short of going to the playoffs again, which we were obviously a better team. I think we're plenty good enough to get in last year, but we knew what we needed to do and we didn't do it. And so that was like the frustrating part was we lost by 3 in a game that we should have won. I felt like we were a much better team than Alabama. It's like every time we play Alabama, we just have a brain fart and can't figure it out. So.
Yeah.
Georgia should never throw the ball 50 times.
I agree with that.
That should never happen at the University of Georgia.
Unless they're in a 7-on-7 tournament.
That's too many throws.
Hey, let's run it a couple times.
Let's run it a couple times.
Let's run a couple Skelly plays.
Yeah, Jack, look, man, appreciate the call. We'll see this weekend. Again, I think they should go up tempo early. We'll see if they do it. But apparently, David, before we get to the next call, Mike Bubba's leading some Georgia fans to drinking.
No way.
But if you're going to drink.
The rumors are true.
The rumors are super true. If you're going to drink, there's a drink you need to drink before you drink. And you need to drink responsibly.
Coach Drinkowitz.
That drink, yes, Eli Drinkwitz. That drink is Z-Biotics. What is Z-Biotics? David asks ominously.
What is Z-Biotics?
David, stop being so ominous when you ask questions.
Gracious.
It's a I don't know why that's funny every time, but it's funny.
I had to read the script.
Every single time. Z-Biotics is a pre-alcohol probiotic drink. All right, it's the world's first genetically engineered probiotic. You drink it before you go drink, and you don't feel as bad the next day. Y'all know what I'm talking about, especially if you mix, all right, alcohols that you're drinking. We all know that that's like getting hit by a freight train. All right, this probiotic produces an enzyme that breaks the byproduct that makes you not feel good the next day down. It's not dehydration. Bill Nye, the science got me on this one, and turns out Bill Nye, not even a real scientist. Lied to me the whole time. So if you go to zbiotics.com/booster, you can learn more. Oh, and also get 15% off your first order when you use Booster at checkout. Z-Biotics is backed with a 100% money-back guarantee, so if you're unsatisfied for any reason, which you won't be, they'll refund your money, which you won't want to be refunded. No questions asked. So head to zbiotics.com/booster. Use the code BOOSTER at checkout for 15% off. If you're going tailgating this weekend, order Z-Biotics. You'll thank me Sunday morning. I promise.
It works.
It works 100%.
I still don't know where do all my products go over here?
You don't worry about
David has every product over there.
Yeah, because I put it right back when
I put mine down.
Why don't you be organized?
Don't ask. You're asking too much.
Casper the Ghost?
Organized, man. Yeah. All right. Let's go to Dave in Ohio. Maybe Dave stole your stuff.
Maybe Dave did it. Dave,
you want to blame it on Dave? Dave, what's up, man?
What's up, guys? You're talking about Z-Biotics, but for my fan base, we've been down in a maximum prescription of Auburn Fanzitol.
Oh, gosh.
No,
Dave, it's so bad. Talk to me.
He
Dave.
can't hurt something that's dead.
Yeah, you can't kill what's dead inside.
I was going to start my call. Well, first off, long-time listener, first-time caller.
Thanks, Dave.
I love the show.
Appreciate it, buddy.
Call sign, Mashed Potato Bandit.
Yes! Yes! We got to do the call sign.
We got to bring that back. You do take stuff, Dave. We're our product.
Mashed Potato Bandit, you thief.
So I'm born and raised in Alabama, but I live in Ohio. My wife's from Ohio, so she's an Ohio State fan. So I was going to give a trivia question, but I had to jump on the Auburn Fanzitol after talking about Z-Biotics. But I was going to say I'm in Ohio now, but my team that I go for, we played Ohio State, but only once, and it was in 1990, and Auburn won against Ohio State. I was going to see. I was like, and that was going to be a pretty far-fetched.
Boy, those were the days, weren't they? Beating Ohio State.
Y'all won't be playing them this year.
On top of the world.
You won't be playing them this year. I don't
Yeah, no, we won't be playing them this year unless somehow somebody's bus crashes.
It's like being married to an Ohio State fan. It's like, man, it's just I don't know what that's like. She's like, I would rather go I would rather beat Michigan and lose every other game. And instead of winning every game and then losing against Michigan and winning the national championship, and I was like, I would just like to win one game. I would like to win a game.
Like we had Oklahoma fans that are like, I'm so pissed off we suck and you're 4-2. You know what I would do for Auburn to be 4-2
You know
right
what
now?
I want? This is the only thing I want. I want just to go into a game with the lead in the fourth quarter and feel confident we're going to
close the door.
Yeah.
I just feel like we're going to win this game.
You know the only time I ever felt that way about Auburn? Like the only time, well, there's two times. 2004, because we were so good. And even that year, like LSU late was tough. But 2010, because of one guy.
When number 2 was out there?
And Cam Newton. I have never been more confident
we were invincible
in any sport as an Auburn fan. I couldn't wait for the fourth quarter, David. I was like, oh, God, I can't wait for it. Now I'm looking at it like I was watching like Insidious.
Yeah.
Like I'm like, oh my, it's 21-10 against Oklahoma, and I'm throwing up in Innisfree like halfway through, and I didn't have a drop to drink, speaking of Z-Biotics. But anyways, maybe it'll get better. I think it will, Dave. But hey, I'm married to a Bama fan, as a guy from
I'm
Auburn.
married to the game.
Yeah, Blaine's married to the game.
Dave, how was this?
Damn it.
How was your wife this week after the Oregon game?
So we have a baby, so we actually went to bed, but the next day I was kind of waiting to see what she would say. She's like, I saw the score. You don't have to say anything.
Yeah.
One last thing I just wanted to say before I go, but I had a 5-leg parlay, but I just did money lines with Penn State and Texas. That was the only close one. I had Oregon over Ohio State, and then I had LSU over Ole Miss, and I had Kansas State over Colorado. And like 3 or 4 of the 5 games were 3-point margin or less.
Yeah.
I was like, man, I should have put more than $1 on it, but still got $15 out of that.
Hey, we don't unit shame, right?
Yeah, we don't unit shame over here. You know, that's like on the 3-point shootout when you have one rack of balls in the corner and you make all of them. That's what it feels like to me.
Good. I bet if that was me, I'd have been panicking Skywalker.
You would have. Yeah, you would have. Great call, Dave. Call in again,
Thanks,
man.
Dave. Appreciate it, man. All right, let's go to Colton in Georgia. Colton, what's going on?
What's going on, guys?
Colton, what's up, buddy?
I want to talk about and I know it's middle of the season, and a lot of people want to talk about this, but the 70 League Super Conference thing, because I feel like if more guys like you don't start talking about it, it's going to happen. And Group of Five is going to be out. And watching the NIU coach cry, it's like that's a vital part of college football, dude. And I don't want that shit to change. Like, I just feel like if we don't start talking about it now, it's going to happen. Because every time I think something's not going to change in college football, it does.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, and Colton,
Paul's opinion on it. And,
well, the only things it seems like only things times when it starts to change if something happens to Ohio State.
Well,
that's when the NCAA is like, whoa, guys, hold on,
wait a minute
here, wait a minute, smells messed up.
Now, Colton, I wish, and maybe I think it's impossible for this to happen. But is there a world in which we could have that Super League, but you're still able to play Group of 5 teams during the regular season? Or is that just impossible?
I don't know. I mean, we want to see more top-ranked matchup, and that's how they're going to present it to us, right, so that they can get hold of the sport, is say, well, don't you want to see Georgia and Oregon play more often than just in the college football playoff? So I don't know. Again, I wouldn't mind the Group of 5 having their own playoff.
Well, I see.
Right?
I think, Colton, are you saying you'd be fine with the Group of 5 still being able to play Power 4 teams during the regular season, but having a split playoff? Like, would you be fine with having a split playoff, or you don't want any of that?
I don't I don't think so, because I think if you're looking at it from a viewing standpoint, right? Like when Cincinnati played Alabama, that's a blowout first half. You're not going to get a lot of views. But if there is a game where Cincinnati's in it in the fourth quarter, you're actually going to get an influx in views. So I feel like that's the way they got to look at it. And, I mean, that's really the way they've been looking at it. I just feel like maybe I'm the only one seeing it that light.
You know, it's bigger than just like one game here or there. You can't judge Group of 5 teams. It's which of these programs keep building and investing in football so they get really good over time. You see, like SMU in the ACC now, and these different teams. Like that's we need a relegation sort of system,
and that's why we
so they can overtake some of those other
that could work. But like, here's
opportunities for that though.
Yeah,
I mean, you look at Utah in 2008, and they got snubbed. Mm-hmm. There's been opportunities, but the chances hasn't been there. So now with a 12-team playoff, you get that 2014 or 2017 team in UCF, and maybe that becomes a possibility. But I guess, like Cincinnati, you know, would they have even gotten in at 4, or would they have gotten in at 12 and immediately got foul dropped? So I don't know.
Well, they would have had a better opportunity to beat number 5, the 5th seed, than the number 1 seed.
I agree with that. Here's the problem, Colton. You know, we can talk about it, and we will. Obviously, Josh Pate, you know, a buddy of ours, can talk about it. Some other big people, you know, like us in the space, can talk about it. But at the end of the day, it's the money that's pulling the strings on this thing. They're going to do what they want to do to make the most money regardless. So we can get up there and scream about it. And, you know, there's parts of it that I don't like. There's parts of it that I do like. I think there's a right way to do it and a wrong way to do it. But at the end of the day, they're going to follow the money. And that probably means... Now, you know, a different conversation, I've had this before, is there's some Group of 5 teams right now that I think should be Power 4 teams, and there's some Power 4 teams that I think should be Group of 5 teams.
Exactly.
That's where it's going to get really, really interesting, Colton. But great call, man.
Yeah, man, great call.
Thanks, buddy. Appreciate it. All right, let's go to Kendall in Illinois. Kendall, what's going on?
Hey, fellas. How's it going?
What's up, man?
Hey, have you guys seen the jerseys that Illinois is wearing on Saturday?
I haven't. What are they?
I'm looking them up now.
They're throwbacks to 100 years ago when Illinois played Michigan.
So what is it, just like one color?
100 years in one day since they opened up Memorial Stadium, and that's a rededication game.
That's insane.
Really?
So 100 years ago? What, they got to be pretty simple. There was only like 7 colors back then.
So is it...
Like blue and yellow?
Yeah, it's blue and yellow. And the helmets...
Well,
look like the old leather helmets.
Hand-painted.
No
Yeah,
way.
the helmets are hand-painted.
Those kind of go hard.
They're hand-painted.
Oh, they look like leather helmets. They're made to look like
They
leather.
look like leather helmets. They're hand-painted.
Look, I'm cool with it. I
cool
wish
with
they'd
it,
bring
too.
back the old helmets.
I love what the Jets
Not only
wore
the
the
leather
other night.
helmets, but I like the 1 bars.
I'm cool with it. Just
bring back the 1 bars.
Just lose the game.
Yeah. What, Kendall, give me a
hell yeah,
score.
Blaine. Bring back the 1 bar.
Come
Kendall,
on,
give me
man.
a score.
What's up?
Give me a score of the game.
The score? Oh, God, dude. I was at the Purdue game last weekend, and I was hammered in the second half. That fourth quarter, I sobered up real freaking
I bet.
quick.
I kept looking at that game like, what? Like, what's that? Illinois was up like 23-7 or something like that. At some point, I was like, all right, well, here we go, ass-kicking USA. Then I look back, I'm like, they're going to overtime? Like, that's one of the games I stopped paying attention to.
Yeah, when Walters went for 2 in the fourth, my buddy and I looked at each other. He's like, Walters is giving a big old middle finger to Brett right now. And I'm glad we pulled it out. You guys mentioned it yesterday. I think we were looking ahead to this week.
Yeah,
so,
probably. Because Purdue's bad, dude.
I think it's going to be close. I think it's going to be a 3-point game. I think 27-24. I think Illinois pulls it out. Obviously, I'm going to be a little biased, but I don't care.
Are you going? Are you going to the game?
Oh, yeah, I'll be there.
Nice.
I'll be at the game.
Hey, drink your Z-Biotics before the game.
Yes.
Blaine, yours is gone because I stole them.
There we go. Good. At least cut it from Illinois. Thief! Yeah,
I will catch
that.
you. Trust me, I've been watching you for weeks.
He knows where you're going to be Saturday.
I already know where you are right now. I've been watching you for weeks, dog. That dinner looked great last night.
Yeah. Kendall, great call, buddy.
Thanks, Kendall. Appreciate it. All right, let's go to David in Tampa. What's going on, man?
What's up, guys? How's it going?
What's up?
What up?
So I'm curious. So there was a clip from a podcast that went viral, and Blaine, I know you saw it because I saw you repost the guy who apparently got called out from that clip. But Cone and Jake, did you guys see this clip from a podcast that AJ McCarron was on, and they were talking about how you have no right to criticize coaches' schemes and play calling if you've never coached or played the game. Now, obviously, all of you guys have played and or coached football, so it doesn't really apply to you. But just, I just want to know if you have any thoughts on that overall.
Well, the guy who said it, Tyler Siskey, was the wide receivers coach at South Alabama when I was there. Really good buddy of mine. I saw that, and I know AJ pretty decently. Blaine, you played with his brother, Corey at Spanish Fort. Here's what I'll say, and I actually talked to, I call him Coach Siskey because, that's what we called each other when we were there. But I talked to him yesterday, and I firmly believe he wasn't calling out anybody specifically. I know it got taken that way. But I know him, and he'd have no reason to, lie to me. Here's what I think about it. I think that regardless, I think there's some coaches that never played that are damn good coaches, but they're obviously coaches. And I would never tell anybody they have the right to not, or they don't have the right to criticize something just because they didn't do something. I mean, we talk about, basketball on this show, and none of us played college basketball or coached basketball. But here's what I do know. Regardless of if you played or coached or you didn't, it's very easy in this sport to find out if somebody knows what they're talking about or not pretty quickly. Because you have some people, and there's a line to me that you got to balance in between me coming on here. Like when you hear David do the huddle up and he gives you the play call of what it is. Well, if he just gave you the play call, for 80% of the audience, he might as well be speaking Korean, right? There's 20% that are going to understand what he means when he says certain things. So you can't get too into the weeds. But if you're somebody that wants to criticize play calling or scheme, and all you can do is speak in generalities, or you say, well, they need to run the ball better, or they need to pass the ball better, and you want to come off as an expert, to the people that actually know, it's very easy to tell if somebody else doesn't know. But I'm not in the business of, I want our audience, whether they played, whether they coached, whether they did whatever, to be able to criticize, and we're not going to say, you don't deserve to say this because you didn't do that. That's just the way I go about it. But I think that clip was kind of taken a little bit out of context in what Coach Siskey was saying. AJ, on the other hand, was a little bit different. But I don't know. I just think you either know what you're talking about or you don't.
I'll have you know I dressed up as a girl and played basketball, so I'll criticize
you. Yeah, how dare you?
Oh,
that is true. I forgot. I forgot. I blocked that out of my mind. Man, this is so tough. Like you can, first of all, this is America, dog. You can criticize whatever you want.
Yeah, we don't need anyone's permission.
You can say whatever the hell you want. That's what makes this country great. But I do think there's levels to it. And I do think that I don't think Coach Siskey was talking about anybody individually. And I think that if you want, I think about the money ball. I don't think that Jonah Hill guy ever played baseball.
No, there's people that aren't engineers that can, that are really good at math and science. Is Goodwill Hunting situation. Yeah. So again, I get what he's saying to a certain point. I just think people took what was on the surface of what he's saying as nobody can ever criticize anything. I think he was saying that it's very easy to spot somebody that sits there and say, well, they need to stop running cover 2. Well, they can't really tell you what cover 2 is. They just say stop running cover 2. And to me, that is annoying, right, to a certain extent. But I'll never...
fans criticizing a lot, even if it's something stupid and it's silly and it's annoying, and Penn State fans want James Franklin to be fired even though they're undefeated. It's healthy for the sport.
It is.
People to care
and
that
we want
much
all those people
too.
to
It's unhealthy for sometimes with people's jobs and their family, and this is their livelihood, and you guys lived it. You were coaches. But at the same time, it's better to have people around the country that care that much about the institute.
And I think there's a difference, quickly, and David, to wrap it up, I think there's a difference in somebody coming after an individual. Like if somebody came after me and said, Jake, you said that they should be running man free and they're, you're wrong about that. Me expounding on that and then finding out you don't know what you're talking about is totally different than some random fan being like, well, we got to stop throwing the ball to the slot as much as what we're doing. I think those are two different things.
Appreciate it, Dave.
Great call,
much, man.
Great call.
Thanks for calling in today, y'all.
Hey, great calls, man.
Please call in tomorrow if you're on the line.
All right. Let's go to bets. Yesterday, first off, it may have been ugly, right? It may have been nasty. It may have been grimy, but Middle Tennessee State, I keep forgetting Derek Mason's the coach there, too. Like, every time I watch, I'm like, oh, God, Derek Mason's the coach.
Oh, God, flashbacks.
Oh, it hurts. It hurts.
We're bringing 3.
I'm just, when do we see a chick on the field? But tonight.
Hey, man.
Tonight.
Hey, dude. Okay? How
Check
dare
your privilege.
All right? That's our first red flag on YouTube. Appreciate it.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. We needed one. We needed to break.
Do it, Dave.
Do it.
Challenge flag.
Oh, I
challenge on the case of bigotry.
Yeah, well, we got a judge robe and a gavel. I challenge UTEP to not lose by more than 7 tonight. Give me the UTEP Miners with an E at plus 7.5 at minus 115. And then Sam, Houston State, -2 at home against Western Kentucky. I know they got that big German at quarterback now that TJ Finley's hurt. Wievenschnabber or Veldenstank or whatever it is. I don't know, but I think you're losing. I like Sam Houston State's coach, too. All right.
How much?
Huh? Well, I mean, not enough to date him, but I think he'd be cool to hang out with. So give me Sam Houston State -2 at minus 108.
You're not really a date him.
Oh, yeah.
If you're not willing to date him, are you really willing to bet him?
No.
Yeah,
let's be honest.
UTEP, huh? The UTEP cover at 0-6.
Hey, the
All
Fighting
right,
Miners.
well, I'm
baby.
taking FIU -6.5. So
It
we
can happen.
Split.
Yeah.
We can split that. We can thread that needle.
Doesn't even have enough
-6.5, that's -131 on the odds. And then I like this Sam Houston team, too. I'm going to go Sam Houston, Western Kentucky over, though, 55, and that's -112.
All right, I love it. 2-0 yesterday. Snuck by. Not in the over.
Mexico State,
The over
son.
got killed. I knew that would happen. All right, let's do it again today. It's an over type of day, fellas. Points. Hello? Oh, yeah, more points. Yeah, I thought you were going to hit me with that. Obviously not good enough shot. Give me the over. Give me the over, first 54.5, -115. We love that in that game. We'll see how it is. Sam Houston State, do we believe or
Stop
not?
rubbing your hands together.
I don't know. I'm starting to fire. I get excited when I bet. And then give me the over in the FIU UTEP over 47.5. A lot of people don't think this is going to happen. All right? The thing about it, the mistakes will be disaster mistakes. Pick sixes, fumble returns, maybe a special teams touchdown. That's the type of stuff you get on a Wednesday, baby. Let's go.
Like when Pimpleton took that one back.
Oh, God, that name.
You know what, David?
That's like saying
Voldemort
at Hogwarts.
game, but you're starting to piss me off.
Okay.
And we're gonna get to deep level. We're gonna start cutting each other.
Truce.
All right, Ace, he's going to take the Mets money line, and then he's going to ride with Sam Houston State on the money line, not at -2. I respect it. At -1.25. That's minus
Yankees.
25. Yeah. Well,
Mets Yankees in the World Series there, Blaine, or what?
No.
Huh?
They cannot win.
The Subway Series.
I refuse to let it happen.
Dodgers series is tied with them, right?
I know. Yeah, I believe it is. Yeah.
All right, if you donated today, guys, thank y'all so much. We really appreciate it. We love your money. A $5 donation from Adam Lyon. What's up, Adam? Thanks to Blaine for sponsoring my son's Warrior Run. I can't lose with the Flaming Dragon on your side. Hell yeah, brother. I hope everything goes well. Let's go to a $5 donation from Austin Hughes. Austin, what's up? How crazy would it be if Texas beat Georgia and then went to Vandy the next week and took an L just like
Hey, here's the real question. Texas beats Georgia. Is game day coming here to Nashville?
Come on, man.
Give them on.
There's never another opportunity.
We're here.
No, that's what I'm saying.
Every day's game day in Nashville,
That is
guys.
true. That is true.
Come on, dude. Let's go to a $10 donation from our cousin Eugene. Before the UT-Arkansas game, I told my friends if Arkansas wins, I'll drink my own. You can guess what? Well, that absolutely sucked, but I will make good on that bet. Football Juju will honor my bet. We win and out.
You're going to drink the pee-pee?
No, you're not, dude.
Who
It's
did that?
sterile.
Look,
and I
if
like
you're going to
the
do that,
taste.
all right, you have to video it and put it on X or no one will believe you.
Hey, that one guy reverse ate that burrito and look at Kansas
Yeah.
State.
He did.
Yeah.
It's the one guy from FSU, and he said he's going to do it. Nobody believes him.
Reverse
But
ate a burrito.
He did. We call that a Swedish good morning.
Yeah, there's nothing like an Egyptian goodbye. All right, let's go to a $10 donation from Buy and Sell. What's up? He says, love the show. Do you see any advantage Georgia has over Texas? Coaching, maybe?
Hold on, I'm sorry. I'm just trying to get over
Look, you got it.
what
back to
my
the
brother just said. Advantage. Well, I wouldn't say that Georgia has a coaching advantage. I think it's pretty even. David, I mean, would you? I mean,
Coaching advantage for Texas over Georgia?
no. Like, what advantage? What advantage does Georgia have over Texas? Like, is there any?
Felony.
I don't. Felonies. I don't know if there is one. Can you say secondary?
I mean, maybe if Quinn rolls out to the right, goes to the sideline,
I'll give you
Kirby
one.
Smart's on
I'll
the
give you one.
sidelines, give him a nice little
then
shove,
Carson Beck.
forearm to the
I'll
neck.
give you one.
maybe.
Running back. Texas lost their top two backs
Yeah, they
before the
did.
year. I would say running back. I think each
Hasn't shown, though.
hadn't shown because that starts that
Hasn't
good.
shown.
$5 donation from Justin A. What's up, Justin? Watching that Kennesaw versus Middle Tennessee State game was like watching two blind kids fight.
It was. That was like,
That's not a terrible watch, though.
it's not. You don't know
Blind
what's
kids
going to
fight,
happen.
Like, I mean, one-hitter quitter. You never know.
Somebody's going to
If you're watching two blind kids fight, you're not safe.
It's like the Wi-Fi at my house. It's going to be spotty a lot of misses, but at some point it's going to connect, and it's going to be awesome.
$2 donation from Jace. Appreciate it, Jace. Florida wins one of these. Which one is it? LSU, Ole Miss, or Georgia?
None.
LSU, Ole Miss,
Pick.
Georgia. Which ones?
I mean, Ole Miss goes to Florida, right? I would say Ole Miss.
Yeah, Ole Miss is trying. I mean, Jackson Dart's trying to act like Anakin Skywalker, man. That's not going to work.
He's like, we got to win out.
I'll say LSU.
All right, let's go to a $5 donation from Will Wooten. Woo! What's up, baby? Love the show. Thanks for everything you guys do. In Austin Saturday, we're eating the dogs. Hook 'em. P.S. A&M, average and mediocre. Just had to throw that there in the end. Are we going to see any? See any Bevo Georgia Bulldog action?
There's always something that goes down, but I just want this. The more this goes along, the more I'm wanting to see A&M in Texas at the end when it matters the most. I know we're going to see them, but I kind of want them both to win out until they
high stakes.
I want hostility.
Yeah.
I want it to be straight up hostility. Let me just put it that way.
You sure you want hostility?
I want straight up hostility.
$2 donation from David's favorite humping badger. Did y'all see Drake's new pigtails?
Yeah.
Cone?
Pimpy Longstocking.
I look jealous?
Drake's new pigtails, yeah.
He didn't say it. There's no way he said that. You added
I'm
that.
making up donations over here, Dave?
I believe you made up that end that I look jealous.
So you like
I'm
Drake's
jealous
new pigtails. Look, Cone, you look jealous.
Yeah, I'm super jealous, man.
Peanut butter.
What'd you call him? Pimpy
Longstocking.
Pimpy Longstocking.
It looks like to me.
A $5 donation from the New Life. To answer your question, none of the above. Best quarterback week 8, Curtis Rourke.
Dude, Rourke's nasty. It seems like the line of Rourke's have
Let's
been
see this
playing
weekend
for 200 years. Yeah,
Let's see
we're
this
really going to
weekend.
find out.
$5 donation from Welcome to Heaven. He says, do you think A&M Mississippi State game could be a trap game, or am I just paranoid as an A&M fan?
Well, like, the most fascinating part about that, and I think Mississippi State's punched above their weight for a lot of games this year, including Arizona State on the road, now that we know about Arizona State. But to me, I'm more interested to see if Connor Wegman's going to do it again.
Mm-hmm.
He looks so good.
Yeah.
So good. Coming back, obviously, against Missouri. I know Mississippi State hit the steel curtain on defense, but if he's operating at that level, A&M,
I
it's
really
a
hope he
different
does,
conversation.
just so I can go back on our Instagram and for all the people that said stuff about David Pollock, I'm going to roast him.
Oh, God, no. I can't
I'll take time
wait.
out of my. I got time. I'll take time out of my day to find you individually and send you a message.
No, for sure. I will literally take time, too. That's worth taking.
$5 donation from Tim. Appreciate it, Tim. If the right job came around, would any of you guys seriously consider returning to college football and coaching again? Also, y'all are the best. Appreciate it, Tim.
$10 million a year. $10 million a year. That's what it's going to cost. At least. That's starting out.
And you'll coach whoever.
For $10 million
$10 million a year. Just
Hell yeah.
Tell me the team.
Yeah, 10 mil?
For 10 mil, I'll coach Russia.
What? Coach anything.
Give me the
You
whistle.
can fire me in 4 games. I'll live at
Yeah, what's the buyout? $10 million, $40 million buyout? I'm there.
I'll live at a sandals resort for the rest of my life.
Now, I'll live outside for that money.
Let's go to a $5 donation from Jacinto. Speaking on the criticism stuff, coaching at the NCAA level really gives you a whole new look at the game. I coach D3 football and high school currently.
Yeah, that's what I always tell people. It's a lot of people get hung up on the icing and they don't really, understand how the cake is baked, like how to set protections, what teams are doing. And talking to a buddy of mine yesterday, what the iPad has done on the sidelines for teams in real time is absolutely incredible when it comes to adjustments. That's why the quarters are so thrown off. You're like, oh my God, like what happened in the second quarter?
$10 donation from Jimmy's Band. What's up, dude? He says, Carson Beck might be the ugliest player in college football. You know what?
No, somebody's uglier out there. Somebody's uglier out there.
All right, let's go to a $5 donation from Booster Club Cards. What's up, Steve? Comes action figures should be getting finished and shipped to me by the end of this week. Flaming Dragon and Jake should be shipped next week. Let's go. Dude, I never thought
I had one goal when I was 3 years old. I wanted to be an action figure. Mm-hmm. And now I'm getting that. So I'm playing with house money the rest of the way.
All right, this if you donated, guys, really appreciate it. It really means a lot on this side. I can promise you that. Let's get to the
I heard
poll.
Blaine doesn't care, really.
Let's get to the poll. Which quarterback will have a better game this weekend? Quinn Ewers, Carson Beck, Jalen Milroe, Nico. I didn't put his last name because I don't feel like I don't want to type that out.
All right, I don't blame you. But they said Quinn Ewers. I'm going to say 41%.
I'll go Jalen Milroe 40%.
Nico, 17%.
Ballsy.
Carson Beck, 19%. Jalen Milroe, 24%. Quinn Ewers, 40%.
Wow.
Nice.
Right there.
Right on it.
Dude, I'm telling you, we got this thing zeroed in. Speaking of zero in, I appreciate you guys locking today. Shout out Bet Online, Responsible Man, Z-Biotics. Make sure you hit that subscribe button. Thank Josh Pate for coming over. And South Alabama took the belt back from Troy.
Always ride with Josh
That's
Pate.
right. Yeah, that's right. And like the chances of the rivalry game not going the way I wanted to last night down in Hancock Whitney Stadium. We're going.
Take your time. That's not a chance. I mean,
gone. There's like the Lakers rafters up here. We're gone.
Trust the process.
Trust the process. I'm processing so hard right now.